Hello and welcome to Pettifog over IP. My name's MrListerBlister and this is...
JazzMouse14.
There we go. Do let me know what his volume's like. He should be good. But if you can't hear him... Yeah, you should be. I think I can... I've got you at like 100% here. And I can probably up you a bit so you're around the same volume as me. But do let me know, chat. Yeah, welcome to... our Humble Beginnings podcast, Pettifog over IP, where we discuss very minor video game opinions that should hopefully get heated, but sometimes we have a nice discussion.
Evidently from the first episode.
Evidently from the first episode.
There was more agreement than we thought was going to be.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, that's part of the fun of it, isn't it? You know, we never know how bad it's going to be. I realise how untidy my mustache is. There will eventually be audio users, so when they're going through the back catalogue, they're going to be like, what was his mustache like? And my answer would be, you could probably just watch any other of the newer ones, and it'll be the same. So yeah, thank you very much to Brad, and of course you, JazzMouse, for the host. Let's kick this off with, what have you been playing recently, Jazz?
Well, I have been playing much the same as you, but I will not go into that because you'll no doubt go into that. So I will tell of other tales that I have been playing. I've been having shots of lots of different things. I started what I will claim is the original Dark Souls. I started
Kingsfield.
the Legend of Zelda 2. Like,
do you know, like, yeah, no, I can get that. I think there's a lot of Zelda in Dark Souls. I can get that.
Yeah, and it's basically, I mean, hear me out on this if you're thinking I'm wrong. I know it's like 2D, but you're in an overworld, you're scrolling, there's dungeons. The enemies do a lot of damage to you, and you have to try and figure out when the right time to attack is and everything. And it's also got RPG elements to it. So is that or is that not the Dark Souls?
I can get that. I wonder though if that's more of a product of older games and Dark Souls trying to emulate that. But hey, Chrissy, hey, Marius. We decided that we're gonna embrace the live format,
yes,
rather than try and like avoid it. Although there's no alerts. I do need to actually. But yeah, go on. Talk about Zelda 2.
Yeah, no, well, like I said, that is the original Dark Souls to me. So I've been playing that, and as I have said multiple times, original Dark Souls, so it's hard as fuck. So I got upset and quit it. So I basically keep trying to go back and take a shot here and there. I started the Link to the Past. I've done a dungeon in that so far. It's basically just like fancy, like original Zelda. So I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, like Link to the Past is pretty much like the Zelda game that defined it, isn't it? Hey, Hellmasker.
And then lastly, I have been playing, what's it called again? Mario versus Rabbids, or Mario and Rabbids? I can't remember what it's called.
Mario Commander.
Yeah, Mario
XCOM.
versus Rabbids it is. Mario versus Rabbids. But essentially, it's turn-based tactics Mario with Rabbids.
It's like super XCOM-y, isn't it?
Have you played it?
I haven't.
It's good. It's like
I only play Zelda.
It's like simple, but it's super fun because it's like, see, whereas like the likes of like XCOM and the likes of Gears Tactics is all about trying to find the right set of cover and try to do the right kind of maneuvers and get your Overwatch going perfectly and all these different things. Mario Rabbids is like the complete opposite. It's go all out attack, and it's highly rewarding for how aggressive you play. Like,
honestly,
so you can go basically, like, I can describe what starts off as a turn, because you're so used to it with other ones, is you'll move, you'll shoot, you'll maybe use an Overwatch command or whatever, like, because some characters have that kind of speciality. Once you've played the game for a bit and you realize how it works and you realize you can do any action at any time, you start doing things like you move, you do a dash through an enemy so that you can hit them. You then set up an Overwatch, like, because this is an enemy that's going to get kited by a shot. You shoot him so he gets kited by a shot. He then gets hit with the Overwatch again, so you've hit him like 4 times. Then you shoot him, you're on 5 times, and you still got a character to move. Like, so you can just get like mad attack combos going on. Like the more into it you get, like it totally rewards like aggression. It's amazing.
That sounds like that's like high level XCOM play. So that's like how you teach kids to be good at XCOM. Because XCOM, if you go super aggressive in XCOM, gets a bit iffy on later difficulties. But certainly in normal, if you start going all out in XCOM, you'll breeze through the opening levels. Then you'll have to dip a bit, and then you get all your equipment back, and then eventually you get all the super powered weapons that one shot everything, and it's like, oh well, now I'm bored.
But no, honestly, I got it. It was on a sale. I don't know if it's been selling well, so it might have been the reason. But it was on a sale on the Nintendo
It's just been
store,
out
and
a
I got it
while.
for £11. Like, so
Yeah, I think it's
can't
just
really
been out a
argue with that.
while. I think it might have been not far off a Switch launch title, to be honest. It might have been the first.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it came out, or at least it was shown when they were like, "Here's the Switch." They were like, "There's a Mario Rabbids game."
Oh no, you're right. 2017, so it's been out for 3 years. Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's
You
probably
can
just been
actually
out a
get
while.
it. You can get it from Argos for £18 right now.
There's a Donkey Kong expansion as well, if that interests you. You might have got it already.
No, I don't. But
Yeah, it's like it's
based.
based on the Tropical Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on that, like the Donkey Kong game that came out on Wii U and was remastered for the Switch, but we'll get to that. Because no one played the Wii U, so they have like an entire catalogue of games that people think are brand new.
I mean, that's more a failure on the Wii U's part. Than anything else.
Exactly. So the game that I know Marius has been playing in chat. Oh, and hey Fox, I missed you there. Marius has been playing. I'm sure people are aware of, and that of course is Phasmophobia. Oh, what a game! What a game! I'm so excited to play that game. I've been playing it a lot. I say a lot. I'm only at 16 hours, but I think like if we pull up some of our friends' playtime while we're talking about this,
I think Brett is on it basically every single day.
Brett's on it pretty much most of the time. I mean, like they won't mind me saying names. Leonard's at 60 hours. Brett's at 45. Me and Mr. H are at the same. You're at 12 hours.
Just under 13.
Yeah, you know. And,
but I mean, that's a lot for a guy that's got a child to be taking care of.
Yeah, exactly. I'm only at 13 at the moment. 13 minutes. So you'll get there, Brad. You'll be one of us soon. Don't worry about it. And basically, for those that have been under a rock or don't keep up on the trends, Phasmophobia is a co-op ghost hunting game where you use things like PKE meters, called EMF in game because PKE is copyrighted apparently, to investigate a haunting in a house using real ghost hunting techniques to identify what ghost it is. One of 12 different types of ghosts, from demon to poltergeist to revenant. Hate to know, and it's just fantastic. Like it's like this weird, it's like a weird horror game because a lot of the time you think, oh well, co-op's not going to be scary, but it really is. It's got like all this voice recognition, so you need to be careful what you're saying, and the fact that the level of how scared you are is in control. Like I was playing with Jazz. And the ghost was active alone and we needed a picture. I'd already died, so that's how I could spectate while he was doing this. And he went on his own into the basement and I was next to him. So when you die, you go like into basically a spectator cam because you can't do anything at the moment. So it's just a spectator cam. And I was watching him and he's on his own in the basement as these footsteps are circling round and he was bricking it. But up until that point, the ghost hadn't been that scary. We'd all been going in groups. We'd all been very preoccupied. But it's one of these things where it reminds me a lot of Alien Isolation, where it's like you're given a series of very simple tasks to do under intense pressure, which is just amazing for horror. That's why, granted, I haven't played the latest one or beaten any of them, but the Amnesia games do a similar thing. All you're really doing is pulling levers and cranking stuff, but it's these simple tasks that take time in tough situations where it's just, oh yeah, and you get a spirit box that says stuff like behind adult. What's funny about it is I realised this when we were playing with Ted, and he was like had to like activate some voice packs in Windows. It's MS George that talks through the spirit box.
Ah.
If you Google MS George's voice, it's that kill, die. That's in the book. Oh no, he does say that on the spirit box, doesn't it? We had a little girl with no face haunting us in a high school last night. She hunted 3 times. Oh yeah, that's the thing. The ghost is AI controlled. And after a countdown timer, the ghost will have the ability to hunt you. All the lights flicker. You need to be silent because you'll draw it. And it just insta-kills you if it finds you. And it's so tense. It's such a tense game. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add that it's quite funny because whilst you're in the comfort of all your friends, like co-op horror is such a difficult thing, and I was kind of like skeptical about this game until I actually played it. I just got it because I was like, oh, do you know what? Like Brett's playing it, Lena's playing it, Lister's playing it. Everyone seems to be playing it. It must be a good game. I got it, and the whole time I was like, co-op horror. I'm kind of not sold on co-op horror. I don't think this is going to be scary at all. But whatever, a lot of people are playing it. Must be fun. And it's actually really good because the horror level of it is just the right level, and the jump scares and everything are just the right way that because of the complacency of it, because you're always just running about, oh come on, wait, have I got an EMF reading, what's the temperature, and you eventually start to relax and start just being idiots and being like, come on, fucking show yourself, blah blah.
And then you get
and then all of a sudden you get you're like like,
that's the worst thing. I hate that they use that noise. I hate they use the grudge noise.
Oh no!
It's like you're in a room on your own, and you just see like you think that the game's a bit buggy, so you don't really pay attention to shadows. But you see a shadow to your right, and you're like, oh, it's probably just like the door open, and then the shadow suddenly goes, and you're like,
uh-oh. But it's like as well, like just like
or the
simple feels like that happen are just like, for instance, I was walking out the high school playing, and just as I was literally about 6 feet from the exit that I was about to go out, the door slammed shut and my light flickered to tell me that the hunt had started. And all I could do was, because I was in just an open corridor, all I could do was crouch in a corner beside the door that was once open and hope to God I didn't die. And I'm just like, like it's amazing. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. Go buy it.
Well, Chrissy's given us our nice segue into the actual topic. So, of course, the topic today is remasters and remakes. Yay, nay, or may be. That doesn't pick you up. Your microphone's not as sensitive as mine. Mine's got a sensitive soul.
Yours is a nice fancy man one.
Yeah. I could use this one. I actually tried to use it and it doesn't work, but anyway.
Hey, Jess.
Hey Jess, all the sound effects are disabled while we're doing this, but nice try.
Would you like to go first? I think I kicked off this, but I think I kicked off first time last time.
Sure, or at least I can do like the kind of introduction. So, obviously there's been a recent trend with remaking and remastering games. Some that deserve it, some that don't. And there's a lot of conflicting reviews with it, especially when it comes how like there's a lot of conflation with remasters and remakes. I think we're kind of settling in to like a proper definition of the two, but you know, you have some that are just simply, we patched the game and now we're selling it to you. Some that are we're going to strip the entire original game and rebuild it from nothing, which is obviously what Demon's Souls, Shadow of the Colossus is. And then you've got, Kingdoms of Amalur, which apparently is just, it makes us work. Last of Us Remaster, you claim it's pointless. Maybe I'll get onto that.
I'm just sitting over here like,
why don't you open? You're itching, so why don't you open? You open.
Right. So, it's a very now we're all aware that it's a complicated field, all right? It's too easy to be like, remasters, remakes, get them out of here, or remasters, remakes, we love them. It's more complicated than that. But there's just such a clear-cut vision of being arseholes that this industry continues to do again and again and again and again, that practically all the pros that I have for remasters and remakes don't make up for all the cons that exist.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So I will start by saying, con, seeing as Tino has mentioned it, Last of Us remake, and you might want to rebuff this. We'll see how you go. But Last of Us remake, completely fucking pointless. At least the majority of remakes and remasters include all of the DLC. They fucking even remastered the DLC for that. Like, how much of a cash grab can you actually do? Like, that is a joke. That's a complete joke.
It came with the DLC.
It didn't. I have the DLC as a remaster thing.
I have it on disc. At least on disc it did. But carry on.
It didn't. Well, at least on the PlayStation or whatever, the DLC was even remastered. So that's all I'm saying.
They released it as a standalone. Store. That's what they did.
But that's even more ridiculous. It's not a standalone game. It's like a 2-hour fucking DLC. Like, it's not even 2 hours, I don't think.
Anyway, moving on. We won't get caught up on that. That'll be my defense.
Anyway. But what I would say is that in terms of, here are my gripes and here are my pros. So, one of the things that always makes me, that I will point to, I usually say remasters are completely pointless. Usually my stance on remasters is completely pointless. However, there is a remaster that I think is even on par of a remake, technically, but it's not, which is the Halo Master Chief Collection. Because, like, it's the same game, it's completely the same game, but the amount of effort they've put into the extra graphics kind of justifies that it's a remaster. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, because, and that's why I'm saying kind of like a remake, because essentially they've remade all of the graphical assets. Like, even though you can just do the wee and turn it all off, it's incredible. The cutscenes have all been redone. Looks amazing. It's like, it brings it up to a kind of modern game standard, even though obviously the actual gaming mechanics haven't evolved.
Okay.
Combat evolved.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I follow that. You're attracted to a cat and a baby with your rant.
Mm-hmm. What are you looking at? Both of you.
So, in rebuttal to that, I'm gonna say I'm pretty much, oh man, like, broadly speaking, I'm pro remake remaster for most games, to be honest. Whether a game deserves it or not doesn't really matter to me. Like, sure, I can get caught in the minutiae of like charging for The Last of Us Remastered. But the fact is, I enjoyed the remastered one way more than Last of Us Original. I enjoyed it way more. Higher frame rate, nicer controller. I can go on for loads of reasons, but you know, I obviously in an ideal world, remasters would essentially be patches for old games. The example I give you is Worms Armageddon. Got a patch recently that basically added a load of fan mods, smoothed out, like with interpolation, all of its animations, so that when you run them at 60, they are at 60, not 30, with like a smooth thing. But like, I think with remasters, that remastering a game, and not even getting into remakes, remastering a game and bringing it to a new system, a new audience, especially when that game was released before the marketplace we have now. So to go back to Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, a lot of people have said that Kingdoms of Amalur is a lazy remaster. It doesn't really add that much high fidelity. It doesn't really like change much. It's broadly speaking the same controls, same content. I think there's some extra content added, but even if they didn't add the content, and I haven't even bought it, I'd still be in favour of it because that game came out in a different era, and the era it came out massively affected its reception. I mean,
well, what I would say to you then is
I'll mute you. And like, so I Resident Evil 4 HD, I've never touched any other version of Resident Evil 4 that I've got now because the HD one, and people argue that's a lazy port. They added better mouse controls, they added slightly higher frame rate, but they didn't change any of the models. All the models still look old.
You don't play Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition?
I don't have a Wii. I'm not some kind of nutter who would play every Wii game ever made. Nor would I name my channel after it. But treat him like the US president, he deserves it. And when it comes to remakes, now, I've had a lot of heated chats when it comes to remakes. A remaster, I'm fine with. It can be an exact clone, maybe some more controls, maybe some nicer graphics options to make it run on modern systems. For the most part, I don't think you have to try that much for me to think a remaster's worth it. Now, a remake, if you're not changing the game, your remake's pointless. 2 examples on each side. Resident Evil 2 remake. They changed a lot about Resident Evil 2. They changed a hell of a lot about Resident Evil 2. The game is better for it. The remake means that the original still feels like its own thing that you can enjoy for different reasons than you can the remake. Neither game overwrites the other. You know, if you want, like, you wouldn't play the remake to get the same experience you had with the OG one. You'd play them for different, but in a lot of ways similar experiences. Shadow of the Colossus remake, the PS4 one, was pointless.
Did they consider that a remake?
No, they did a remaster on PS3, and then they remade it from the ground up on PS4. All new models, everything. Yeah. So there is a, like, I've got it here. So
I just assumed that was another HD release.
No, it's not. It's a full remake. Do you know what they did? It's exactly the same game with exactly the same stuff. It looks nicer, and Wanda, the main character, still controls like a man who has no control over his own limbs. And I hate it. It's a game about climbing, and you're like... And it's like, what even is that? What even is that? And that was a massive disappointment because I was hoping that game would play more like a modern action game. And it doesn't. It plays like the original. So outside of prettier graphics, there's no... If you own a PS3 and a PS4, buy the remaster. The remaster is better than the PS2 one because the PS2 could barely run the game. Yeah, so it came out on PS2.
I'm just trying to keep up with the fact that there's actually in just 3 consoles.
Yeah. Came out on PS2, barely.
But the second one's better than the first one and the third one.
Yeah. So it came out on PS2, and it could barely run at 15 to 20 frames per second. PS3 Remaster used the original assets, upscaled them based on the original ones, and runs at 60. PS4 runs at 60, looks way nicer than both of them, but controls the same. So unless you can get the PS4 version cheaper than the PS3 version, there's no reason to not get the PS3 version.
Hey, Macarena.
Hey! So yeah, in conclusion, if you're doing a remaster, I think every remaster is justified, in my opinion, because it's a new audience. And this isn't this isn't getting into the minutiae of the cash grab, which I would concede that as a con. A cash grab. I would concede that as a con. I don't have enough of a different opinion to you. Ideally, remasters would be free patches. But a remake, I think, has to be different. Has to be different, or it's a waste of resources.
Well, now we get into you brought it up. You brought it up with the free patch. Now we get into the new bullshit that they're trying, where they're telling people on this current console generation, if you buy this game, on the next console, if you buy it, you'll get to download the next gen version of it for free. So like you're already getting conned into like a remaster via a purchase for this generation, right? Like, so that's already a new bullshit tactic that they're trying.
But they're not even remasters, because why I say they're not remasters, they're not fucking... The PC version's not going to come out with another version, is it? If I buy Cold War...
Where's
if I buy Cold War...
Where's the line between a port and a remaster? Because if something comes out as a port on another console
for me,
later than the original release, and it also has extra content plus fixes to it, is it a remaster?
So for me, I think this is what I think the remaster line gets muddy when you start looking at... It started to get muddy with the... I'm going to use PlayStation because it's easier with numbers, because Xbox are weird. The generation of the PS3 to the PS4, right? The line started to get blurry, but there were some games that had a remasters that were significantly improved in terms of performance. A lot of like definitive editions came out and like this kind of thing, and that line starts to blur. I think the line between PS4 and PS5, like, consoles are setting on a standardized architecture now, like PCs have been for a while. And for me, I would say I would draw the line with a remaster. You have to use PC, in my opinion, to make this clarification. But I would say in order for me to think it as a remaster instead of a port claiming, the PC version has to have additional graphics options that weren't or couldn't be implemented on the original release in order for me to class as a remaster. So stuff like...
So i.e. the resolution, the higher resolution...
Well, no, because the resolution not so much, but ambient occlusion. Say the original came out with like one type of ambient occlusion, like HBA or HBIA, whatever it is, and they were like, that's the ambient occlusion, you have an on-off toggle. If the remaster comes out with like 4 different versions of it, or if the original supports 4K textures, so they've plugged in the original assets. So like, yeah, with the resolutions, it's not just 1080p, it also supports 4K, whereas the original started to fuck up on 4K. I personally could just do a remaster, especially if you get a discount because you owned the original. I think BioShock did it well, although the BioShock remasters are fucked. You just got it free. If you own the original, you just have it.
I mean, you're not going to argue with getting anything for free, like, I guess, in the end of the day. But, I mean, the reason that I brought up, the reason that I went into the line there of what is a remaster and a port and everything there,
I hope I clarified my position.
I wanted to go with one particular example.
Yeah, go for
it. It's Okami. Like, Okami came out, if I'm looking at the dates right...
It's better be... I'm going to agree with you on this point, I think, but go on.
It came out in 2006 on the PlayStation 2. I personally had never heard of it. I had no knowledge of it whatsoever until, 12 years later? 12 years later, sorry, 2012, yeah. 6 years later in 2012, it gets released in the Wii. Now, I've played the Wii version, and I've then looked at the PS2 version. I see no difference in them, but technically, would that be considered a remaster? Because, I mean, there's enough time between it. And then also, obviously, you've got the HD collection on top of that because it's now on the Switch as well. I have got that, but I've not had a shot of it. I'm assuming it's prettier graphics, but again, I'm assuming there's literally no gameplay change.
It's prettier graphics. Runs at 60 FPS constantly. I will give that. It runs constantly. But here's the thing with the HD. I don't know if that's a remaster
or a remake.
A remaster disguised as a port. It's not a remake. It's not a remake.
I know,
because
I get you.
that game, this is where I have a suspicion with that game, and someone much smarter than me is going to have to prove it. I think that's an emulation. Because my graphics, my GPU, when I played Okami HD on PC, ran at about 20%.
Right.
Right? I was getting 60 FPS. It's locked at 60, I believe. My CPU was at 100. and it was choking OBS. So I think it's a emulation. I don't think Okami HD is a proper remaster. I think it's an emulation. I couldn't stream it because it made my microphone pop because it choked my CPU. My microphone was like the whole time I played it, and when I turned the game off, it was fine. Some games are CPU hogs, Chrissy, but so are emulators. Emulators are CPU hogs, and it basically ran nothing on the GPU. It did nothing. My GPU did nothing. It never touched it. It ran so much. Like, its percentage uses on my GPU, which was running at 20%, I believe I used GPU encoding at the time, was maybe 10, maxing out at 10, but it was using 90% plus. My CPU was red in Task Manager, and my temperatures were boomf.
So then that brings up the bigger question: are all Wii releases on Switch actually just running on a hidden Wii emulator?
I mean,
that then has the controls modified?
Are we talking about Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I don't even need to prove that. If you proved me saying I was wrong, I wouldn't believe you, because I know what Nintendo are like. Nintendo released broken ROMs, and people have, like, for their older games, and people have analysed the ROMs, and they're the same ones that you get on emulator sites. So Nintendo download ROMs from illegal sites and sell them.
I mean, to be fair, the emulator that they've got built into the Switch for the NES and the SNES that you get is paying for your, like, Nintendo Plus or whatever you want to call it. I actually quite like that anyway. Although it's got limited games and stuff, it's quite a neat emulator, so I quite like it. But I can imagine then that there might actually be some
Badweed. I'm using your channel name, Badweed. Please clarify what the Okami HD was locked at 30 FPS. We'll get back to it when he clarifies. If so, Okami HD, an amazing, or Okami in general, is an amazing game. If you haven't played Okami, play it. You will not be disappointed.
Start it and then I never get in it.
Yeah, it's a long game. I should be back.
I think mentioning Okami HD broke his CPU.
We should be back now. We should be back.
I'm just waiting for it to come up, and I'm gonna refresh and see. I'm still on the channel, but I don't see anything. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Hey, fuck Nintendo.
We'll just get chat to confirm that I'm back.
Yeah. Give it a refresh. We is live.
Sweet. What's really funny is my OBS is frozen, disconnected, reconnecting in 1 second. Anyway, where were we with the chat? I don't know where I was. Let's blame Virgin and Okami and Nintendo. The holy trinity of ruining Lister's life.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. It just seems really expensive to get secondhand these days for collection. So, and I saw it for £8 on the Nintendo store as a discount. So I thought, I'm just going to get that, and that way I know I have it, a good copy of it. I thought, hey, it's the HD, it must be better. But evidently, I may have been wrong in that thought. But getting it for £8 on the Switch is probably going to be better than fucking getting it secondhand for like £15-20.
Yeah, I don't think it's better. I think it's just different. Like, it's the same game. So, I guess closing statement for me, as I said earlier, remasters are good, and remakes should actually be a different game.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say, and I didn't get really around to making the point as well, though, was just a couple of last quick points. Not all remasters are good. Evidently, looking at you,
I defend them all.
HD collection.
I defend what one? Sorry,
Silent Hill HD collection.
I mean, I feel no. Okay, I'm putting a rule for PoIP now. This is a rule for PoIP. You cannot use Konami to prove a point.
I'm gonna make this a recurring theme to use Konami in my closing statements.
That's fine. You can't use Konami. I won't allow it. But carry on.
But yeah, so not all remasters are good. Specifically looking at now remakes. This is That kind of builds off of what I was saying earlier, Tino, in that, well, Crash not so much because I've not played it. I can't speak to it, and I hear that it's maybe a bit not as good. Spyro, however, for me, and that's why I was saying how the Halo Master Chief Collection to me is kinda, to me, with all the extra cutscenes and graphics and things, is kinda like a remake to me. Spyro is essentially nothing but a graphical upgrade. I know that they rebuilt it, but it's essentially nothing but a graphical upgrade. But I love it. Like, I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And it's much better
Like,
than playing the original Spyro.
What
like,
a lot of people have said, the big changes for the remake, because it's all aesthetic stuff they changed, but like the main reason that people recommend the Spyro remake over the original isn't it purely camera control? It's like they added analog stick camera control.
That and
but I
what
mean that's not the
as
game's
well
fault
is,
though.
from a completionist point of view, is from Spyro 3, you could press a button to find out. You could get sparks to the point where the last gems
do that
were
in 1 and
the
2
level,
now, can you?
and they backdated that to Spyro's 1 and 2 to make the completionist aspect of it way easier.
That's good. Oh, so one game that I would hold up as actually a prime example of an amazing remake, Black Mesa. Now that's an interesting one because Black Mesa is a full remake that is better in the final levels than the original. Black Mesa is a remake of the original Half-Life, for those who don't know. The back end of Half-Life, now spoilers for Half-Life, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a crap if you're going to get spoiled by this fact in Half-Life. The back end of Half-Life, you go to an alien world. Okay? It's horrible. It's the worst experience of an FPS I've ever had in my life. I've never experienced
a game so quickly off a cliff.
Black Mesa just goes, we're not going to remaster Zen. We're just going to make a new Zen. And it's way better. It's better thematically. It's better aesthetically. It's just better overall. Even the last boss is better in Black Mesa than the last boss in Half-Life. However, would I recommend you play Black Mesa over Half-Life 1? No. Never. Play Half-Life 1 first and then play Black Mesa. Because other than that end part, Half-Life 1, oh, it makes me swoon. I love that game. I love the chunky looks. It still plays so well because it's the Quake engine that's been butchered and then put back together by Valve. Oh...
Whilst you're listening
play
to this
Half-Life
opinion of Half-Life 1, let me just supplement what I'm thinking in my head to chat. Lister, what's the best game that's ever been made?
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind that this gentleman believes that Resident Evil 4 is the best game ever made when you're listening to him tell you that a remaster is much better and you should go back and play that original one. Like,
to address...
I don't know, I've played Half-Life 1 and I mean, it was alright. I guess it's one of those ones that you just have to have played.
Yeah,
it was alright.
I'm going to say to Raxby, I don't have that much nostalgia for Half-Life. I remember I had the demo that I played obsessively when I was a kid, but not the full game. Until I streamed it, I hadn't played the full game. And if you don't like old school shooters, okay, fair enough. Skip Half-Life. Like, if you really don't like old Quakes, old FPSs, fair enough. If you don't like Deus Ex, the original, because of how it plays modern times, fair enough. I can understand skipping to Black Mesa. But if you like retro games and you like retro FPSs, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not playing Half-Life, in my opinion. So at least try Half-Life 1 and then play Black Mesa if you can't get on with it, is what I would say. Even if you have no attachment, because it runs really well on modern systems still. Like, Valve have patched it.
Run really well,
yeah, like Valve still release updates for Half-Life 1. You still get updates that are like, just fix the little issue we noticed. So...
And there's also I'm told that, what is it? There's the DLC. Well, they weren't DLCs back in the day. They were expansion packs. There's the expansion packs. What is it? Blue Shift and something else.
Yeah.
I never got around to playing them, but I'm told one of them's good and one of them's bad.
Tino, is there a third reworld we're not using enough reimagining? Just going through the comments, like Black Mesa is a reimagining of Half-Life. I would still class reimaginings as remakes.
That's a remake to me. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say it's
because
a remake.
Final Fantasy VII is a reimagining, like,
but it's a remake. It's a remake. Like, you're just because you're reimagining it, you're still also remaking it. Like, I think they're synonymous with each other. You know. Hey, Apop. Half-Life was an amalgamation of game programming best practices in its day. Exactly. Remaster, exact same game but prettier. Remake, most of the same games, tweaks or range. Reimagining, totally different but same plot. I would just lump those two together, Tino, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, like, would you not consider like Resident Evil 2 both a remake and a reimagining? Like, you're changing, like, you're kind of changing the plot line and everything as well. Like, exactly. Resident Evil 3 maybe remake, maybe a better thing than that, because the plot, I'm told the plot line of Resident Evil 3 is a lot more different from what the original game was like. You're the expert here. You know, I've not played them.
I've not played the original. I've not beaten the original Resident Evil 3. I will say, the remake of Resident Evil 3, it plays like a DLC to RE2. So if you really liked the act of playing Resident Evil 2 remake, like I did, then I would say I'm confident in saying Resident Evil 3 is a must-buy. However, if you were like, I enjoyed the Resident Evil 2 remake because it was like a nostalgia trip for me, it was cool to see, I played it through 1 or 2 times, and then I uninstalled it and never touched it, wait till a sale for RE3. But if you're like me, who's at... who hasn't had it uninstalled since it came out and is at 82.8 hours in Resident Evil 2 Remake, then you're probably the audience for Resident Evil 3.
How is there even that much of that game to play?
I just like beating it in an afternoon. I just boot it up and 5 hours later I'm watching the credits.
It's so done. I can't do that. That can be our next topic, or at least a brief topic. Like,
what, just playing games over and over again?
I like, there's very few games and movies that I recomplete in that sense. Like,
yeah, but like,
it's too much to experience. How can you keep going back to?
I don't know. I just like the act of playing it. But I was saying this, like, I'm going to run through these quickly. Mm-hmm. Right, because I will chew everyone's ear off if they get the chance for this, and Chrissy brought it up, so I'm going to use that to subjugate everyone to it. A Resident Evil 2 remake Resident Evil 4 remake, has been announced. It's in the works. It's the next Resident Evil remake.
No.
Now, before we get into this,
what are they going to do? Resident Evil 5 remake, Resident Evil 6 remake, Resident Evil 6.
Before we get into this any further, just going to say, I'm going to buy it because it's Resident Evil 4. I assume there's no one here that is going to blame me or be surprised at the fact that I'm probably going to get it day one. Okay? But I won't be disappointed. I will be disappointed if these like quick lists that I've got here that's in my Discord that doesn't go off. So, faster and smarter enemies because you're going to be quicker. So the game should be more of a challenge in terms of combat because Resident Evil 4 was very combat heavy. There's a boss called the El Gigante that's a cave troll fight. It's much beloved by fans. Ditch all of them, delete them from the game, get rid of them, not needed, delete, cut them. They're not fun. He's kind of boring to look at. If you want to keep the first one in for nostalgia, go for it, but delete them all. Don't care about them. The gun upgrades, I want to completely strip the gun upgrade system. I want to remove all of the upgrade system where you buy firepower. Instead, right, just have it that you buy the weapon parts to make the gun better. Shut up, Jazz. More extra mercenaries mode. More of that. Get rid of Assignment Ada, which was like a little mini game that was timed. Get rid of that or incorporate into Ada's other thing. More of the parasite things because it got boring when you shoot the heads off 6 Ganados and they've all got exactly the same mutant living inside of them. And racist. The final boss fight,
can't even tell the difference between the Ganados.
Surely you'll back this up. For the final boss, get a badass laser instead of a rocket launcher.
But isn't it always a rocket launcher?
Yeah, but they have a laser in it that's literally made. They literally have a weapon that's description says it's a super weapon. So put it in the game, and then it's an unlock when you beat it on the hardest difficulty. So add it in the game as a teaser.
But it's always the rocket launcher, isn't that like?
It's not
how
always the
every
rocket launcher.
Well, I mean, like, isn't that like at least how up until Resident Evil?
In Resident
4?
Evil 3, in Resident Evil 1 and 2 it was. In Resident Evil 3 it was a railgun.
And I'm sure there was sure there was much heated discussion about it.
Okay, one rant, one thing about the Resident Evil 3 remake that I've just reminded me of, right? There's one crime that the Resident Evil 3 remake does, right? There's a badass thing. So obviously they're members of STARS, right?
Mm.
And the Nemesis.
STARS.
Exactly. There's a badass line in the original where Jill, before giving the clevering bow, goes to Nemesis, "You want stars? I'll give you stars," and then fires like a 50 caliber Magnum into its face, and then the credits roll. Right? Badass scene. Not only did they remove it from the final scene and replace it with just a "fuck off" line, but they added the line in earlier, and here's where I got annoyed. In the middle of her saying the line, I got punched in the back of the head by Nemesis, and it didn't finish the line. It was like, "You want stars? I'll ah!" And I was like... So I didn't even... So that's the one thing that annoyed me the shit out of it. So yeah, not all remakes are good, but...
No, my closing point will be the only time that I'm completely always in favour of remasters or remakes is when you get a remastered thing such as like Kingdom Hearts games being brought to actual fucking consoles, because who makes actual canon games on a fucking portable console?
So you would back a Unit 13 remake?
Anything. I don't even know what Unit 13 is, but I'll say yes.
That's fine. That's all I need. Don't look it up.
Okay, I'm not gonna look it up, but yeah, just I mean, like the fact that like Kingdom Hearts even has stories that obviously now you can get with 1.5, 2.5 HD remix, blah 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 blah. You can now experience these stories, but for a large part of time, I mean, for fuck's sake, here's a prime example that I kept up just so I could bring it up at one point. An actual canonical game, Kingdom Hearts Coded, was literally a fucking mobile game. Like, how can you be dealing with that? Like, how can you, as a fan of the series, how can you be keeping up with that plot line without remasters actually existing? So,
no, exactly. I would agree with you on that.
I mean, I bought Kingdom Hearts 3, started playing it, and within 20 minutes went, I have no fucking clue what is happening. And I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I don't know 90% of the characters that come on my screen. I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to see cool Disney characters. I'm going to play it for a few hours and then I'm going to
get
up.
And it was big on the Disney, wasn't it? I would like remakes of games that are hard to access. I think that's pretty much what you said. This is Shoujo. Give me a Tales of the Abyss remake on a playable console. To be fair, even if you play all the Kingdom Hearts games and remasters, you can't keep up with the plot. True.
It is a pretty wild plot. But, I mean, at least give me the chance. You know what I mean? At least give me the chance.
Like
I mean, imagine you went and seen Star Wars, like... Wait, I was going to say Star Wars 1 and 2, but obviously Star Wars started confusingly before in 5.
It actually didn't, but they renamed it. But anyway, go on.
Imagine you went to see the first and second of a movie, right? You go, you see the first movie. You go, you see the second movie. You go to see the third one, the trilogy, and you recognize nothing whatsoever because they decided to release everything as like home video releases or something.
You do know you're gonna fucking hate this. So,
oh god, what have I done?
You know the latest Star Wars film, Episode 9. You know that transmission they like? Have you watched it?
Oh no! Somebody, I found out about this. So there was like something to do with the Emperor was like released on some bullshit that nobody saw.
So, the radio message that triggers the events of Episode 9 was a Fortnite exclusive.
That's what it was. And I remember being angry, and now I'm angry again.
Welcome to the darkest timeline.
Like, do you know what? And I don't even have anything against Fortnite. Like,
no, I don't give a shit about Fortnite
Fortnite's
either way.
It's a good little fun game to play. I don't mind like playing BRs, and I don't mind Fortnite. I'm just not good enough at the building aspect to keep it,
yeah. I'd probably enjoy it more if it wasn't building, but then it would probably be horribly generic.
But why would you do that? Why? There are people who love like boomers. Great example. Boomers love Star Wars. There's lots of people that are older than the Fortnite generation that love Star Wars. They won't be playing Fortnite. How are they meant to see that? They then go watch a fucking movie and they've got no idea because a canonical release existed inside something that's just why? But anyway, that was my point.
This is one
all ties
thing.
back to Kingdom Hearts, by the way.
Because now I know that I said the Konami example, but I'm arguing this is a Metal Gear Solid example, which is one of the few good things that Konami's allowed to happen. They didn't do; they allowed to happen. It's a big thing with like Peace Walker. Like Peace Walker was meant to be MGS 5, but then it got put onto PSPs. Like I don't know, PS Vita or PSP or PS Vita, whichever one it was. And Kojima obviously eventually bought that to consoles. But
in the HD collection,
when he actually made Metal Gear Solid 5, he gave you all the information you needed from Peace Walker. I mean, you should play Peace Walker because it's amazing, but he gave you all the information that you needed. Big Boss is head of a mercenary company. The mercenary company is called Militaries Without Military Without Borders. It gets blown up. Game start.
Yes, that's all you need to do. Like, I mean, if do you know what? If anything, what Star Wars Episode 9 should have done was played that broadcast at the very start of all the cinema releases. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you just do that?
Yeah, I want them to.
You knew what was going to fucking happen.
I think if they, if they make 10, 11, 12, I would love them to ditch so many of the tropes. Ditch the opening crawl. Do it, you cowards. Ditch the opening crawl. Get rid of the opening crawl, right? Like, have it open with, like, characters we don't know. Have the first film in the trilogy have no characters from any of the other series.
Imagine it just opened, right? It's all black. It's the stars. You're expecting the... And it just goes... And a ship just flies straight by.
With, like, a... as it cuts off the music.
It's just a sticker on the back.
Because Rogue One did it, didn't it?
Spaceballs with We Break for No One.
Because Rogue One did it. Rogue One didn't have an opening crawl. Rogue One just straight in.
Does it?
I think so. Yeah, exactly. Tino's
confirming
that.
There you go. Yeah.
And it gave exactly. I think they should ditch that. They might ruin the impact.
I've still not watched Solo. This reminds me of.
Me neither. I've heard that it's simultaneously bad and not as bad as people say.
I've heard that it's enjoyable.
Tino likes it. And if Tino can like a Star Wars franchise thing, anyone can. You know, like that's my thing. If Tino can find some enjoyment in a film, in a Star Wars media thing, anyone can. Solo is mostly harmless. There you go.
There you go.
Just have no dialogue and make it a silent film like in the old days.
Imagine that the two actors doing that, and then the V card just comes up. Zoom.
or like they start getting choked, and then it comes up with like.
Or just Anakin Skywalker sitting there like. I hate sand. We now need to make the Star Wars silent films.
Be amazing.
But no, that was my last point anyway. Was I just as long as it's bringing something that was a canonical release on some other platform that a lot of people haven't had access to, then those remasters and remakes or whatever you want to call them. I'm absolutely happy with and everything. As long as I can see significant work from the developers and in terms of like I said, Halo Master Chief Collection, where there's a lot of graphics work and there's a lot of cutscenes work and it adds to the depth of the game whilst not really changing much. That's a good remaster. In terms of remakes, again, like the remake would be like that I would point to would be Spyro. It's remade from the ground up, but it keeps everything that's brilliant about the original one whilst taking all the.
See, I would argue that's a remaster with the definitions I work from, but I still don't necessarily.
It's like a really fancy remaster, but it is considered a remake.
Crash is a bad game, so nothing can save it.
Yeah.
I like how I'm so glad we agreed on that. I couldn't deal with that discussion again.
I said that to you actually. I watched a 40-minute Carrots video of why Crash is all bad. Like, and I was like, this It's beautiful. But
A Tales game, Tales of the Abyss, got a remastered to DS in 2012, but like, why can't they put it on the PSN store or even Switch store? I don't even want graphic upgrades, I just want to play it.
I know, and that's one of the things as well that I saw whilst I was browsing the list of game remakes and remasters. I've seen games that are on old consoles be ported then to a portable console in the future, and you're like, why? Why are you doing this? And if you can do that, why have you not released it on a more available console?
And what Raxby said, I think we agreed early on that the exception is like
who played the Wii U?
Like the Wii U. I think I said as a joke earlier, Raxby. I basically said you could port games from the Wii U to the Switch, and most people will think it's a brand new port because no one has any idea what games are on the Wii U unless they look it up. Like
I've honestly not played a single Wii U game.
Like the only reason I remember that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD came out on the Wii U is because I wanted a remake of them, Googled to see if one was planned, and then it said that they'd been remade on the Wii U. So
it's just, I mean, I'm just looking, and people, do you know what? People are still asking too much of this. Like, I'm literally looking at like eBay to see how much people are charging to buy a second-hand Wii U, and I still wouldn't pay £60 to £80 for that. Like,
no, not at all. I think the reason why it gets a lot of it still goes for a lot is the Virtual Console. Because there's so many Nintendo games on it, which really annoys me. Like, why don't Nintendo stop buying these like shovelware mobile indie games and not buying them but letting them be on their store, and instead why not start bringing like Virtual Console? Like, it annoys me that the NES and the SNES Virtual Console as well are PS Plus exclusives. I feel like people should have the option to subscribe to just them at the very least, or buy the games individually. But if you have an online,
like I like the fact that, and I mentioned that earlier on, that I like the NES and the SNES emulator that's on the Switch. I think it's a great emulator. It works great.
With the rewind and everything is really good.
It's great. It's brilliant. Makes playing the game so much handier, and it makes games like the original Legend of Zelda, which I would never have completed without that rewind function, capable of being completed these days, without slogging away at it for absolute hours. What I don't understand is why there's not, like, why can't I pay to have more games on it? Like, you've got the license. I know you've got the license for them because you own them. I know you've got the license for them because you released them on your SNES Classic. You know what I mean? Your NES Classic. I know you've got the fucking ROMs. I know you've got the license for them. Why can't I play more of them on this wonderful emulator that you've created? Why?
Yeah, I agree.
Re-release.
I agree.
Remaster. Please.
Like, it's just madness. Just madness.
What I don't understand is why it seems to be in so many aspects of gaming these days that the remakes and the remasters and the reasons that I want to give you money don't exist, and all the reasons that I don't want to give you money are in my face. Like, why is that? Why is that? Why are we part of an industry, the consumer of an industry, that literally the people that make the product don't listen to us whatsoever?
I mean, maybe that's a discussion for another day, or that won't so much be a Pettifog as two men agreeing for an hour, I think. Although, in the sphere of people who are very anti-games industry, I think I'm quite forgiving.
I'm very unforgiving.
I mean, it mainly comes down to because I want the thing. It's like, you know, if a game that's like really hyped up and is a company that made it is absolute trash, I'm like, I want the thing. And
I mean, prime example.
Oh God, he's going to bring out the baby.
Forgot my headset doesn't reach as far as it used to.
What's the
prime example is I just got this. I got this for £8 off of eBay. It's no different from when it was released, and I still don't know the story because I never listened to anyone when they talked about it, and I never looked up any YouTube things.
So what happens is
my experience won't be any different from those that played it for £40.
It's really cool. Have you played out of interest? It's a weird hybrid God of War 4, because if you've played the other God of War games, you won't. Not that you'll see the twists coming, but the twists will have different meanings. So have you played the other God of War games?
Not played a single one.
Okay, cool.
Not played
then
a goddamn
any of the stuff that, so basically the way they reveal stuff that players would already know, they reveal it as if it's a twist.
Right.
But obviously, for people like me who have been long-term fans of the series, have played every entry,
You're just like,
I was like, the twist was the other characters' reactions rather than the knowledge itself.
right,
If that
okay.
makes sense.
Kind of like if you, spoiler alert for Batman Arkham Knight, but if you already know the story of the Red Hood, you already know who the Arkham Knight is. So, like, kind of like that.
I mean, they reveal that twist way too early. Well, what they do, like, is just quickly note on that twist, right? They kind of hint that Arkham Knight knows you for, like, within, like, half an hour of meeting him, they're already saying, I know him, blah, 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 I know his tactics.
Yeah.
And then they're like, who could he be? Who could he be? And then they start showing flashbacks to Jason Todd. And it's like, oh, well.
But I mean, literally walking into that game, I remember saying to a friend,
Same show,
because
Joe,
he was
same.
like, "Oh yeah," he was saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to be like a whole original story." And I literally said to my friend that in work, I turned around to him and went like that. I guarantee you, right now, before that game is even released, it's the Red Hood story. And he was like, "Nah, it's they've said that it's a completely new character." And I was like, "I guarantee you."
No,
and it was.
I mean, they're not wrong. Arkham Knight is a new character.
Yeah. His armor changed and his name changed.
Well, no, his armor didn't change. He just had a mask over his mask. You know when you knock it off and it's the Red Hood?
Yeah.
Like, you knock off the AR thing that he has on front of it to make him look like Batman, and it's the Red Hood. But anyway, I like Arkham Knight, but only get it if you like old-school vehicle combat games, because it's more about that.
I loved it. I've completed, I've 100% completed all three of the Arkham games.
If you get like quite far into it and you still can't stand the Batmobile sections, do yourself a favor and stop playing, because it's going to be Batmobile most of it. But if you like the Batmobile sections, you're in for a treat.
I actually, what I would say about the Batmobile is that you have to get yourself into the mindset of you're not controlling a vehicle as such, and that it's just very much a different style of the whole counter combat system. As soon as you get yourself into that mindset, you then get the enjoyment of the counter combat system just with a different way, and you start figuring out how to do that properly.
Yeah.
If you play it thinking that it's a vehicle game and stuff, it doesn't work that way in your head, and you'll hate it.
And let the Batmobile become its own character, because I'm not saying they did a good job, but they tried to make it its own character, so let it be its own character. Give it, use some of the custom skins that you get, like dress it up, summon it in the middle of a fight just for the fuck of it, and you'll have way more time. Like, there's nothing like fighting like 6 guys, feeling like you're kind of losing it a bit, and then just summoning the Batmobile and having it do a handbrake turn and knocking all of them out. It just comes in and knocks them all out, and it's like, "Hi, Batman."
I've not done it yet, but I know I will at some point. I will probably purchase that 1987 Batmobile and like DLC, even though I know it's going to be a waste of money.
You can't use the tank on it as well, so you can only use it for the races. It doesn't have a tank mode.
But I want it.
I mean, they did that exactly, Shojo.
Anyway, I'm going to have to end this list.
That's fair. I was just about to suggest that.
Friend.
I need to go to the toilet. I need another coffee. My caffeine is running out. So we'll do goodbye. So yeah, this has been PoIP, Pettifog, over IP. I'm MrListerBlister. I'm Jazzmouse. Though he's Jazzmouse14, I'm also Jazzmouse.
I am Dad.
You can follow Jazzmouse on... You should follow him on Twitch, Jazzmouse14, because I'm sure he'll come back. And he's also on Twitter as Jazzmouse14. YouTube as well. He's on Jazzmouse14. Has some great like vlogs from when he like went on holiday in Europe as well.
That's true.
In the before 4 times. And you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and I have a YouTube as well. All MrListerBlister. Have a wonderful time. And if you hang around for 5 minutes, I'll be back with some Dark Souls 2. Love you all very much. Bye.